After a long day's worth of exploration and dungeon crawling, you finally arrive back home and into your town's tavern. But as soon as you open the door, there, standing in front of you, is Amazon Prime Video's new original series, The Legend of Vox Machina. I would like to roll insight to know if it's good or bad. Go ahead and roll for review. That is a natural 20. Upon close and further inspection and observation, you are able to tell that this series is, in fact, a masterpiece. It has been years now, ever since Critical Role made its debut online, featuring a bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors sitting around and playing Dungeons & Dragons. Well, now, after several years and a Kickstarter pledging about $11 million, The Legend of Vox Machina has finally arrived for Critical Role fans, old and new alike, to enjoy the classic characters and stories from their own first campaign. Now, something I want to get out of the way here is that when it comes to something like this, where there is over 100 episodes full of D&D and content that is perfect to make either a live-action or animated series out of, it's not an easy job to do to try and compact all of that much content into a 12-episode series without your audience losing interest and being unable to follow along, or without disappointing fans of the original. However, The Legend of Vox Machina is able to work around this problem by having this current season be based on the infamous Briarwood story arc from the first campaign. Sure, the Briarwood arc might be the second story arc from the first campaign. However, The Legend of Vox Machina perfectly adapts the whole story in order to make it a proper, perfect introduction to these characters for new audiences, while at the same time being an enjoyable, thrilling, and memorable story that old fans of Critical Role that have been there since the beginning can still enjoy without either of them having to go back and rewatch the web series. Now, getting into the characters here, each member of Vox Machina is perfectly set up as we get to explore their strengths, their abilities, their personalities, and their relationships with one another, all in chaotically good fashion, while being voiced spectacularly by their respective voice actors. Whether it be Liam O'Brien and Laura Bailey playing the half-elf siblings Vex and Vex, to Travis Willingham being everyone's favorite barbarian Grog, and finally to Sam Riegel as the chaotic gnome bard Scanlan, the voice cast helps bring that extra charm that makes this series work, while also being able to perfectly balance and juggle all of these characters with one another alongside their villains. Speaking of whom, the Briarwood couple are introduced and handled throughout this series spectacularly as each episode goes along. We never get properly introduced to them until about the end of the second episode, but after we do, the series slowly builds up these characters bit by bit by bit in relation to their history with Percy, and at the same time being voiced spectacularly by Matthew Mercer and Griffin, the voice of Princess Azula herself. Speaking of everyone's favorite gunslinger, by the way, Taliesin Jaffe returns to this fan-favorite character with an absolutely phenomenal performance throughout this whole season. Whether it be Percy having to relive and have flashbacks to all the trauma that he's experienced, or him seeking vengeance against his tormentors, Taliesin hits the nail on the head with his performance as Percival de Rollo III, and it's one of the major highlights throughout this whole season as the story goes on, as we see Percy slowly start to decline into madness that he's bottled up inside of him for so long. And at the same time, this is all captured beautifully through the show's brilliant and amazing animation throughout every single episode. Whether it be reliving and recreating moments from the first campaign, such as this.
Please, what do you want from me?
What do you know?
About what?
I shoot him in the right hand.
And being turned into something like this.
Start talking. Why were the Briarwoods here? What were they after?
They were invited, like you, by Sovereign Uriel.
Silas and Delilah have never left the confines of Whitestone before. Why here? Why now?
I'm only a servant. They don't tell me anything. Please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me.
Yeah, I know. But moments aside, as well as capturing the absolute brutal and epic action such as the whole fight with the dragon, as well as moments with the stunning visual imagery, the animation in this series really brings the essence and imagination of Dungeons and Dragons and Critical Role to life, while also being packed with plenty of humor and fun little nods to the game and source material without being too over the top and self-aware. Overall, The Legend of Vox Machina is an absolutely perfect adaptation of this web series, and it's also a nice little sign of how far it's come nowadays. It perfectly balances the adult humor and the action and the lovable characters, paired with the stunning animation, the wonderful storytelling, as well as the voice cast and clear love for the source material, for this series to overall be a natural 20 for fans alike. So overall, in my opinion, I'm going to give The Legend of Vox Machina a perfect 10 out of 10. That's it for this review, everyone. Please leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe, and stick around for more content coming up in the future. I shall see you guys next time.